A red laser dot settles on a dumpster in a Seattle alleyway, marking Toby Miller for execution over a $2 million debt he can never pay. His sister, Hallie, is offered a single alternative: trade 180 days of her life to a private creditor, or her brother dies at midnight. Hallie's world is a $300 checking account and the sterile silence of museum archives. The people hunting her brother inhabit a different reality, one of obsidian sedans and absolute predatory wealth that views human lives as ledger entries. This is the Donor Services Agreement. It doesn't ask for currency. It demands physical access to Hallie's biology for the duration of her residency. By signing, Hallie legally forfeits her status as a citizen and accepts a new designation: property. She trades her future to clear a debt she didn't create. Within hours, Hallie is transported to a high-altitude peak in the Colorado Rockies. The geographic isolation is absolute. There are no roads, no power lines, and no escape through the sub-zero wilderness. The Spire is a jagged shard of black glass and concrete driven into the mountain's heart. It is a brutalist fortress designed to repel the natural world and keep the contents hermetically sealed. The intake process is a total erasure of her identity. Her clothes are incinerated and replaced with sterile charcoal gray cashmere, a high-end uniform for a resident who has lost the right to own anything. Her owner is Elias Vane. He is an 800-year-old billionaire who views her with the terrifying indifference of a horse trader. He is not a host, and she is not a guest. Hallie is now a biological asset in a gilded vault. Her survival depends on navigating the whims of the ancient predator who holds her contract. Inside the Spire, the silence is so heavy it feels pressurized. Driven by boredom and a need to understand her captor, Hallie begins exploring the stone corridors that stretch deep into the mountain. In 1462, a soldier recorded the movements of a man who burned villages to deny the enemy resources. He called him General Vane, a warlord who claimed that God had left the borderlands, leaving him as the new landlord. The paper trail reveals Elias was never just a survivor of history. He was a weapon deployed to shape it. For centuries, his presence has preceded the collapse of cities and the shifting of borders. From 19th century shipping manifests to 20th century geopolitical extractions, Elias has been a consistent instrument of violence. He is an asset with a maintenance cost, kept in reserve for when a conflict needs to escalate. This history of slaughter changes the stakes of the donor agreement. Hallie isn't just feeding a man. She is sustaining a war machine that has spent 8 centuries perfecting the art of destruction. The scheduled extractions are brutal. Elias's hunger is a physical weight in the room, barely held back by the clinical clauses of the contract. Every donation is a gamble with his restraint. The isolation breaks when scavengers shatter the Spire's walls. The foyer instantly transforms into a vortex of sub-zero wind and safety glass. Elias responds with bone-crushing ferocity. He defends Hallie not because of a legal obligation, but with a primal, protective rage that suggests she has become more than just a resource. In the quiet, bruised days following the attack, the sterile dynamic of the house dissolves. The shared trauma and the absolute cold of the mountains push them into a forced, desperate intimacy. Hallie sees the warlord's hands tremble after he feeds, revealing a vulnerability she didn't expect. This glimpse of the man beneath the monster makes him her only potential ally against the forces now trying to breach the mountain. Eventually, the boundaries fail completely. Hallie and Elias break the contract's primary prohibition on romantic contact, succumbing to a relationship that the legal team in Seattle explicitly warned against. But the truth behind the deal is darker than she imagined. Toby's original $50,000 debt was held by North Star Credit, a subsidiary shell company owned entirely by Elias Vane. This diagram shows the engineered collapse of Hallie's life. Elias didn't just find a debtor in trouble. He authorized the predatory interest and the categorical rejection of every repayment plan Toby offered. He calculated the exact timeline to ensure the debt hit $2 million at the precise moment Hallie had run out of items to sell. He built the noose so she would walk into the Spire willingly. Every moment of gratitude Hallie felt was part of a manufactured script. She wasn't saved from a loan shark. She was hunted by a master manipulator who needed her in his cage. Elias engineered the trap because he is running out of time. The billionaire warlord is himself a slave to an ancient hive mind called the Syndicate, who treat him as a reusable asset. This chart illustrates the oath. It is a biological lock, a viral strain of blood that acts as a magical leash, forcing Elias to obey every command of the Syndicate's high table. Hallie's rare breaker lineage is the only biological solvent capable of overriding this viral code. Her blood is the literal key to his freedom, dissolving the leash one transfusion at a time. The timeline accelerates when Elias breaks a Syndicate member's wrist at a gala to protect Hallie. This defiance signals his treason and triggers an immediate audit, the arrival of a team sent to reclaim the asset. An army of immortal horrors hits the steel doors of the Spire. They aren't here to negotiate. They are here to process Hallie into vials and put Elias back on his leash. Hallie is left with a final, desperate choice. Survive the army breaking down the doors, or allow the monster who ruined her life to drain her dry so he can become the weapon they need him to be.